Have you ever stopped to look at a classic car and felt like time itself froze for a second? There are automobiles that were never just machines. They were rolling works of art. Today we travel back to one of the most elegant, magnetic, and fascinating decades in motoring history, the 1960s. A golden era when design, sophistication, and luxury reached their absolute peak. In this video, we'll meet the 10 most elegant American cars of the 60s, true icons that blended power, beauty, and class in perfect balance. Ready? Let's begin. 1967, Cadillac Eldorado. This wasn't just a car, it was a statement of power, elegance, and unmistakable American identity. When it first hit the streets, it moved like an ocean liner forged in steel, gliding with the calm authority of a swan over asphalt. The 1967 Eldorado marked a bold and beautiful turning point. It became the first Cadillac in the modern era to adopt front-wheel drive, an audacious engineering decision for a brand rooted in traditional luxury. Its design was pure sophistication, sharp, confident lines, a commanding grille that gazed forward like a crown, a rear end so clean it looked sculpted by an artist obsessed with symmetry and perfection. No visual noise, no excess, just presence, the kind that didn't shout. It arrived quietly, and all heads turned anyway. Inside, luxury felt almost theatrical: hand-stitched leather seats, chrome-kissed instrument panels, a sound system that made every drive feel like its own private concert hall. Shut the door, and the world faded, replaced by the velvet whisper of the 429 cubic inch V8, an engine that blended strength and serenity in a way few machines ever did. But what truly makes the Eldorado unforgettable is what it stood for. In the 60s, a decade dripping in confidence and style, Cadillac understood that luxury had to evolve. It had to innovate, so it did. By adopting front-wheel drive, inspired by European engineering but executed with American extravagance, Cadillac quietly changed the rules without losing its soul. A little-known fact that makes it even more remarkable: the 1967 Eldorado shared almost no body panels with any other Cadillac model. In an era when parts sharing was everywhere, this car was built on its own terms, line by line, curve by curve, created to be singular. It wasn't just transportation, it was culture, status, art in motion, a machine that didn't follow the times, it defined them. 1961, Lincoln Continental. Instead of overwhelming chrome, exaggerated fins, and visual noise, the Continental arrived as a statement of balance: clean lines, mathematically precise proportions, and a quiet presence that crowned it the ultimate presidential car. It was no coincidence that the White House chose it. This was the model the world remembered when it thought of American power embodied in an automobile, especially when John F. Kennedy rode in one, an image forever etched into history. Its design came from Elwood Engel, who approached the car as an architect would design a building: no excess, no chaos, only harmony. The most iconic feature was the rear suicide doors, sculptural, dramatic, and surprisingly functional. Opening them felt ceremonial, like unveiling a masterpiece. Getting into a Continental wasn't simply sitting down, it was an entrance. Under the hood lay a 7-liter V8 that delivered power with restraint, smoothness, and confidence. It wasn't built to chase speed desperately, it was built to command roads effortlessly. The suspension erased imperfections in the pavement with a softness that felt unreal. Inside, premium leather, sound insulation worth a concert hall, and a sense of calm that bordered on sacred. Driving a Continental was not transportation, it was a state of being. And here's the twist: this car didn't just make history, it saved a brand. At the dawn of the 1960s, Lincoln was fading into irrelevance. The Continental became its redemption, its second breath, the model that restored the reputation, dignity, and purpose of Ford's luxury division. A lesser-known detail is that every 1961 Continental went through quality inspections lasting more than 2 full days, a level of precision unheard of in the American industry at the time. That level of care explains why each unit feels bespoke, like a tailored suit made by a master craftsman. 1964. Ford Thunderbird. This was a car that accomplished something incredibly difficult. It carried muscle without aggression, elegance without fragility, presence without arrogance. In a decade when automobiles weren't just machines, they were identity. The Thunderbird became a worldwide symbol of status, style, and taste. It wasn't simply desired, it was aspirational. This was the car of confident professionals, of cinema stars leaving red carpets, of people who didn't need to say a word to be noticed. The 1964 model introduced the fourth generation of the Thunderbird, and its new silhouette was longer, wider, lower, and undeniably more graceful. The front grille stretched like a confident smile made of steel. The headlights, twin-eyed and sharp, gave it a focused expression. And in the rear, a pair of taillights inspired by jet afterburners whispered a message loud and clear. This is the space age, and this car was built for it. Under the hood sat one of Ford's proudest power plants, a 390 cubic inch V8 delivering 300 horsepower. But this was not a wild heartbeat. It was a controlled pulse. The power was refined, delivered without impatience, like velvet-coated lightning. The suspension prioritized comfort over aggression, turning highways into runways of calm, floating stability. This wasn't a car meant to attack roads, it was built to own them politely. Inside, the Thunderbird felt like stepping into the future. The driver was wrapped by a cockpit-style dashboard that curved inward like a command center. The controls, the switches, even the sheen of the metal trim seemed designed to make the driver feel as though flight clearance had just been granted. Here's what made the Thunderbird magnetic. It didn't try to be rebellious like a muscle car, but it wasn't conservative like a luxury sedan. It lived in its own universe, glamorous, quick, composed, modern, desirable. That duality is exactly why it aged like liquid gold. 1963, Chevrolet Corvette, Sting Ray. For the first time, America had a sports car that didn't imitate Europe. It challenged it with a personality of its own. The design was revolutionary. Bill Mitchell and Larry Shinoda created a body that looked alive, with tense aerodynamic curves that mimicked the motion of a stingray cutting through deep ocean water. And that's exactly where the name came from. The 1963 model introduced one of the most iconic and debated design features in automotive history, the split rear window. Visually unforgettable and unapologetically bold, it was removed in 1964 due to visibility concerns, which is precisely why the 1963 model stands today as one of the most valuable, sought-after Corvettes ever built. Under the bodywork, the Corvette carried pure innovation. It introduced a completely redesigned chassis with independent rear suspension, a breakthrough for an American car at the time. Power came from a 327 cubic inch V8, delivering up to 360 horsepower, depending on configuration, producing a soundtrack so raw and powerful that even today it sends chills down the spine of anyone who hears it live. Inside, the cockpit balanced sports performance and upscale comfort. The instrument cluster was tilted toward the driver, a deliberate choice inspired by race cars, creating a sensation that you weren't just driving the machine, you were becoming part of it. It was athletic but polished, minimal but luxurious, functional but emotional. It didn't just perform like a legend, it made you feel like one. A fascinating detail, when the Sting Ray debuted at the Detroit Auto Show, even European designers were stunned into silence. This was the moment America proved it could shape beauty without references, imitation, or permission. And the wildest part? Bill Mitchell's original inspiration came not from a car, but from an aquarium. Watching a stingray glide with effortless grace under the water gave him the vision for the Corvette's future, movement frozen in metal. 1965, Buick Riviera. While other American brands screamed for attention with endless chrome and massive tail fins, the Riviera chose a different path, confidence through restraint. It didn't shout luxury, it whispered it. You didn't need to hear it coming. You felt it when it arrived. Designed under the watchful eye of Bill Mitchell, the Riviera became a masterclass in automotive maturity. Its body flowed with sculpted discipline, as if carved by hand. The side profile was clean and uninterrupted. The surfaces curved like liquid steel, and the fastback roofline gave it a European-influenced grand touring silhouette. But the soul of its design lived in the front, hidden headlights tucked behind vertical clamshell doors that rotated open like mechanical theater. When night arrived and those headlights revealed themselves, it felt like the car was waking up. No American car before or since looked quite like it. Beneath that unforgettable front sat a 401 cubic inch V8, the legendary nailhead, producing roughly 325 horsepower. But the Riviera was never about dominating stoplights or proving numbers. It was a gentleman's statement, a car for people who knew true power didn't need to show off. Inside, the cabin blurred the line between automobile and high-end lounge. The wraparound dashboard pulled you into the experience, while real wood trim, stitched upholstery, and polished metal accents created an atmosphere that could rival luxury couture. It delivered the comfort of a Cadillac and the presence of a Corvette, a fusion that shouldn't have worked, but somehow became unforgettable. Here's something extraordinary. The Riviera was one of the first cars in the world to offer dual-zone climate control, a glimpse into the future when comfort would finally become customizable. And there's another twist. The entire car was infused with marine inspiration. Bill Mitchell had studied Italian Riva speedboats to capture that same balance of speed and serenity. Hoping the Riviera would make you feel the same way, a luxury yacht feels slicing across open water. 1967. Mercury Cougar. This car was the perfect answer to a question no one even knew needed asking. How do you blend American luxury with the rebellious energy of a youthful sports car? At the height of Mustang fever, Mercury, Ford's more refined division, decided it wanted its own feline. And so, the Cougar was born, a car that roared with power but carried itself with elegance. It was the perfect balance between instinct and class. A machine that captivated speed-hungry youth and style-driven connoisseurs alike. Its design carried unmistakable character. Longer and sleeker than the Mustang, the Cougar stood out with its sophisticated proportions, vertical bar front grille, and, most memorably, its hidden headlights, which opened like the eyes of a predator awakening. This detail didn't just make it unique. It gave it theatrical presence, almost a living personality. By day, calm and composed. By night, ferocious and alert. That duality, between grace and aggression, made it an instant icon. Under the hood, 289 and 390 cubic inch V8 options delivered impressive performance, blending strength with smoothness. Inside, it felt like a moving lounge. The gauges glowed in a distinct phosphorescent green. Real wood and leather created warm sophistication, and the cabin insulation made you feel detached from the outside world. It was a car that demanded the journey be enjoyed as much as the destination. Here's a remarkable detail. The Cougar was named 1967 Car of the Year by Motor Trend, an achievement few debut models ever earn. The design team chose its name intentionally. They wanted to embody an animal that represented power, agility, and grace. And they nailed it. Silent when stalking, fast when unleashed, unforgettable when seen. So, let me ask you, if you had to choose between the Cougar's subtle elegance and the Mustang's bold aggression, which one speaks to you? Are you the type who prefers a roar that turns heads or a whisper that leaves a mark? Tell me in the comments. I want to know what kind of driver you are. 1962. Chrysler Imperial Crown. While Cadillac and Lincoln dazzled with chrome and spectacle, the Imperial played a different game. Absolute refinement. This was quiet luxury, the kind owned by people who knew true elegance doesn't demand attention. It commands it silently. Designed by the legendary Virgil Exner, the Imperial Crown moved away from the excessive lines of the 1950s. Its proportions were vast, yet perfectly composed. The body sides were clean, the hood long, and the grille divided into carefully crafted chrome segments that looked more like jewelry than car trim. Tail fins still lingered, but subtle and tasteful. A graceful signature of a fading era. From the front, it resembled a diplomat in a tailored suit, commanding yet effortlessly composed. Under the hood sat the mighty 413 cubic inch Hemi 5.8, producing over 340 horsepower. Inside, the Imperial was a sanctuary of craftsmanship. Genuine leather seats, real wood paneling, and metal detailing felt less like decoration and more like intention. Every knob had weight, every surface had purpose. Chrysler wanted you to feel like you weren't just driving the car, you were experiencing it, like a functional masterpiece. Even the dashboard instruments looked inspired by Swiss watchmaking, with typography and needle movement designed for precision and elegance. A fascinating detail most don't know. The Imperial Crown was one of the first American cars to feature nearly complete power control. Power seats, windows, antenna, and even the trunk. Technology that felt like science fiction in 1962. Each car was also assembled with this craftsmanship, closer to Rolls-Royce than mass-manufactured Detroit, blurring the line between machine and heirloom. 1967. Pontiac Grand Prix. In a decade when cars reflected the pulse of society, the Grand Prix captured the spirit of change perfectly. Power, modernity, and absolute confidence in the future. At first glance, the car commanded respect. Its long and low body looked like it was already moving, even when standing still. The front fascia, with its split grille and sunken headlights, carried a refined aggression, while the clean, tight lines along the sides looked like sculpted light trails carved into steel on purpose. This was a car that breathed motion, a car that spoke of speed even in silence. The 1967 Grand Prix also marked a turning point in Pontiac's design philosophy. For the first time, it shared the new B-body platform with the Catalina and Bonneville, yet maintained an unmistakable identity of its own. The wheelbase was shortened, giving it a sportier stance, and the interior received a level of treatment more suited to a European luxury coupe than an American muscle cruiser. The dashboard wrapped around the driver, featuring round gauges and brushed metal details, delivering an almost aviation-like precision in its look and feel. Under the hood, the 400 cubic inch V8 was a masterpiece, delivering over 350 horsepower and a deep, harmonic growl. The Grand Prix blended brute force with mechanical sophistication. But what truly turned it into an icon was its visual audacity. Pontiac stepped away from excessive chrome and ornamentation. Instead, it offered design language built on clean, modern, purposeful lines. It looked like it had been shaped in a European design studio, but its soul, unmistakably American. 1960 Plymouth Fury. This was a car that fused the glamour of the 1950s with the bold modernity of the 1960s. A vehicle built for a country staring optimistically into the future. Its very name, Fury, told the story. Presence, energy, and just the right spark of rebellion wrapped in polished refinement. Designed by the legendary Virgil Exner, the Fury sat at the crossroads of two eras. The towering tail fins of the 50s were still there, but smoothed, integrated, more intentional. The front end, wide and low, communicated controlled aggression, while the side profile flowed with effortless balance, suggesting motion even at a standstill. This was a car born from the same dreamscape that launched rockets into orbit, inspired by space-age optimism and technological bravado. Beneath its elegant skin, the Fury carried a vigorous heart. Its 318 cubic inch V8 delivered power that could climb beyond 260 horsepower, depending on configuration. Inside, the ambiance felt like a futuristic lounge pulled straight out of a science fiction film. The horizontal dashboard layout, featuring a ribbon-style speedometer, was an industrial design triumph. Wide seats, chrome accents, and two-tone upholstery blended comfort with bold attitude in a way only 1960s America could dream up. A fascinating detail that defines its personality. The Plymouth Fury was one of the first models built using unibody construction, a structure without a separate frame, improving rigidity, weight balance, and road behavior. It also stood among the few cars of its time to offer a high-performance convertible variant, embodying the pure, indulgent optimism of the era. 1966 Oldsmobile Toronado. In an era when nearly every American car was rear-wheel drive and built on massive proportions, the Toronado arrived as a direct challenge to tradition. A full-size Titan with front-wheel drive, futuristic lines, and a presence that felt borrowed from tomorrow. It proved that innovation could also be a form of elegance. Its design was a statement of absolute modernity. The fastback body, long and flowing, looked more like sculpture than automobile. The muscular front fenders, aggressive proportions, and hidden headlights gave it a powerful, almost mysterious identity. At night, when those lights awakened from behind their retractable panels, the Toronado transformed into pure visual theater. It was as if the 1960s were watching the future materialize in steel and chrome. But what truly made the Toronado a milestone was its engineering. Its 425 cubic inch V8 delivered 385 horsepower with astonishing smoothness. Despite its size and weight, the Toronado handled with a balance and agility completely unheard of in American cars at the time. Inside, every detail breathed modernity, a car that made you believe the future had officially arrived, and that driving could be an aesthetic experience as much as a mechanical one. A fascinating detail, the Toronado was awarded Car of the Year by Motor Trend in 1966, a recognition of its technological courage. And although front-wheel drive drew skepticism at first, it proved to be an efficient and forward-thinking solution, later influencing both American and European designs. And so, we reach the end of this journey through a decade when automotive design reached its artistic peak. The 1960s were pure elegance, a time when every car was a declaration of style and personality. Now, I want to know something from you. And yes, this time, I want you to really take part. If you could have just one of these cars in your garage, which one would you choose? The absolute luxury of the El Dorado, the timeless dignity of the Continental, or the raw finesse of the Sting Ray? Drop it in the comments because I want to discover which of these automotive legends has the power to win the hearts of our community of classic car lovers. And before you go, let's keep this journey through automotive beauty alive. I invite you to continue with our video about the most beautiful American cars of the 1950s. I promise you, it's a visual experience that will make you fall even deeper in love with classic design. Click now and keep enjoying the art on wheels. See you there.